the knowledge. We're getting really close to the ascension. So if you guys want to take my courses, my groundbreaking class right now, Ascension 2.0, teaching you how to hack the matrix, how to connect with the quantum field, activating of the light body, learning about quantum jumping and much more into parallel versions of reality where you are living your highest potential. And of course, my ultimate class that has tons of cosmic information, our cosmic origin, breaking down the entire cosmic structure, revealing the different types of advanced civilizations from a level 1 to all the way to a level type 5 cosmic, their DNA setups, the characteristics and functions of these civilizations, and then, of course, the entire cosmic and galactic history. All available for $100. And just know that that includes 4 courses, 4 consecutive weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and class starts in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from this weekend, so a little less than 2 weeks now. And they fill up pretty quick, especially at $100. So make sure that you guys go to my website, ourcosmicorigin.com, and secure your spot so that I could see you on a webinar in about less than 2 weeks. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is regarding the Folium product, the ultimate oxidation, okay? The ultimate cleanser of the body. So apparently, really quick, an intro to the Folium. For those that don't know, it's the ultimate detox. It supports the releasing of parasites, pathogens, and toxic chemicals and metals from the air that we breathe, right? Through the chemtrails, the food that we eat. It's everywhere, guys. Not just for those that got that. And of course, the waters that we drink. And it also protects our mitochondria from harmful radiation. So this is very critical to our health, especially now, right? Because our bodies are mutating. Our bodies are intaking a lot of light. So it is critical to our health because dysfunction in our mitochondria contributes to a wide range of chronic inflammatory diseases that the majority of us are suffering from, with or without our knowledge. Believe it or not, we all have a degree of inflammation. Okay, it also helps to. Um, I want to say that I don't want to, say trigger words, but it also helps with disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, dementia, metabolic disease like diabetes, obesity, and hormonal issues, autoimmunity, the C word, and of course, cardiovascular conditions. Okay, so I just want to throw it out there. And that the link is always in the description. For those that don't know where the description is, it's okay because I always pin it in the comments. Okay, so let's get right into it. A lot of things have been happening in the last couple of days. Brandon has testicle issues. Anyways, Russia's president and President Trump, met for a 2-hour conversation. I can't wait to pretty much share with you guys what was discussed in terms of the victory of the alliance. And then, of course, Trump's social media. It's going around everywhere, right? He said all roads lead to what? The grandson of Adolf Hitler, Obama, right? Let's just call him Obama, right? And what that entails. So today's update is going to be jam-packed with juicy intel coming from the Whiteheads. So today,
he's also called Barry Satoro.
who?
Obama.
Ferry,
CIA name.
right? Ferry Satoro. Got it. Okay. So
not born in Hawaii.
Well,
not a U.S. citizen.
Right. Okay. So today's is the. Okay. So on Tuesday the 13th, May 2025, in the U.S., British Admiralty law was no more as of Tuesday, which was, what was it? Last week, right? Common law would be in effect as of Wednesday, the 14th, 2025. And then on Saturday, the 17th of May, 2 days ago, 2025, there was scheduled to be a Supreme Court announcement on the Brunson case if the court ruled in favor that Congress failed to investigate formal allegations of the 2020 voter fraud. The election in the Brandon administration would be invalidated and Congress would be dissolved. Okay, well, that's good news. President Trump has announced, again, shared on a post on Truth Social, that declaring that all roads lead to Obama, okay, and inviting the public to weigh in on the idea of public military tribunals. He originally shared the same message ahead of the last ELE and now it appears that he's preparing to take bold action as he turns to the American people for their input. Do people truly want public military tribunals? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay, so this was coming from President Trump's Truth Social. All right, let's get right into it, guys. This is going to be juicy tonight. So I hope you guys share this with as many people as possible. The CIA's Trojan horse who hijacked America and controlled the Brandon regime like a puppet, Obama's empire, treason faces military justice. Okay. The CIA's Trojan, let's see. So it's happening, guys. Trump just dropped the truth bomb. All roads lead to Obama, right? Brandon was never in charge. Obama ran the last regime groomed by the three-letter agency that starts with the C to sabotage America from within. Military tribunals are now coming for the actors. Of course, the original Obama was taken out a few years ago, but the actor is about to get nipped. The deep state is concerned now, or cornered rather, and this ends everything, okay? All roads lead to Obama. Obama was using USAID to pretend to send aid to other countries and was laundering it to train rioters. Instead, maybe buy a mansion or two. Well, like I said, all roads lead to Obama. We got here because of the terrible Obama deal with Iran that allowed them to enrich uranium, to keep all their centrifuges, to continue research into ballistic missiles. Excuse me. General Flynn demands the immediate arrest of these traitors. Not only Obama, the grandson of Adolf Hitler, who was never born in Hawaii, there is no document. He wasn't even allowed to be president. Brennan, okay, Comey, McCabe, and the rest of the deep state cabal. They launched a coup against Trump, right? We all know that. No more excuses, no more delays, and no mercy. Only justice. Yes. Flynn unleashed. Obama and deep state plot exposed. As of the 19th of May, which is today, this is breaking news, 2025, President Donald J. Trump is in command. The truth is spilling out, and the deep state is gasping for air. One image, one sentence, one trigger. All roads lead to Obama. And just like that, the veil is lifted. For years, we've witnessed the symptoms, scripted speeches, the puppet politicians, the fake elections, the media manipulation, and a president, Brandon, who is now suffering from prostate cancer, I'm sorry, wouldn't or couldn't even tie his own shoes without clearance from handlers in the shadows. But now the disease itself is exposed, and its name is Barack Hussein Obama. No more theories, no more distractions. The pieces fit. The timeline is clear, and the agenda has a face. The final boss isn't Brandon, or it wasn't even, the witch and her, womanizing of a husband, Billy the Kid. It was always a bomber, right? The CIA, the three-letter agency groomed agent of infiltration from day one since he won the 2008 election. Installed to dismantle the United States from the inside, step by step, administration by administration, betrayal by betrayal. And I could assume now why a lot of people used to think that Obama was the Antichrist. I mean, he had a huge role to play in the betrayal of the American government. Let's just be real, okay? So from the moment Trump returned to office a few months ago, the clock started ticking for the deep state. With military intelligence behind him and DOGE, the Department of Government Exposure Efficiency, let's just call it exposure, compiling the evidence, we are now witnessing the largest declassification of corruption in human history. The puzzle pieces, long scattered, are aligning names, dates, documents. whistleblowers, from wiretaps to unsealed indictments. It's not just an investigation anymore, Galactic Jedis. It is a military grade takedown operation. Okay. And at the core of this operation is the revelation that nothing about the Brandon years was organic. Nothing was accidental. The decay was entirely engineered. So again, all roads lead to a bomber. Okay, let's stop pretending that Biden was ever even in charge of the USA Inc. pseudo government. From the autopen signatures on key executive orders to his consistent inability to form a coherent sentence, it's now being doubt. Okay, it's now beyond a doubt that Brandon was a front, a shell, a marionette, and behind that marionette was Obama speaking to him through a earpiece. Okay, and I'm sure you guys already knew that, calling the shots, managing the message, orchestrating the downfall. Well, Obama's return wasn't symbolic. Okay, he never really left office. Since 2020, he's kind of returned back to office. The resistance wasn't grassroots, it was a controlled demolition, operated remotely by a man who was trained to destroy America using its own institutions. The orders, the optics, the appointments, they all trace back to him. He installed Susan Rice to control domestic policy. He resurrected John Kerry to push globalist climate agenda. He placed hold overs and loyalists in every corridor of power, ensuring the machine remained obedient. And even as Obama drooled on cue cards, okay, I believe it was George Soros that was above him. The so called Brandon presidency was not a presidency at all. It was a coordinated theater of illusion, a carefully constructed facade, a carefully constructed facade behind which operatives like Obama could rule from the shadows without accountability, without exposure, until now, thanks to Doge. And by the way, I believe Elon is ending his you could say, his operations with Doge. I believe it's going to be in a week or two, but he did his job, thank God. And I'm referring to the good Elon, the Elon that was made in a petri dish 2.0. Let's just be real. I know there's this clip of mine going viral about the three Elons. I mean, everyone's playing it. Shadow of Ansra, um, David Wilcock talked about it. Sam the Illusionist talked about it. It's a clip of me talking about the three Elons. That's cool. It's going viral, guys. It's going on other people's platforms. I guess people are pretty mind blown with that intel. All right, let's continue here. Let's be blunt. Joe Biden was cognitively unfit for command from day one, and we all know that, right? The signs were subtle. They weren't. I mean, they weren't subtle. It was only obvious. They were actually broadcasted live to a world trained not to see. Okay. The Autopan scandal proved that point, that Brandon wasn't even signing his own orders because he wasn't authorizing them. He wasn't even calling the shots because the remote control was in Obama's hand. Think about it. Why were Obama's old appointees suddenly everywhere in the Brandon cabinet? Why did policy after policy mimic Obama's original playbook of division, surveillance, and censorship, and foreign appeasement? Because this wasn't Biden's America. It was Obama's third term. And now Trump knows about it. Hidden in plain sight, enabled by a broken media and a treasonous elite that were behind him. So, what if Barack Hussein Obama was never truly elected, but selected? And we all know that. For those that have read my book, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, every president till Trump was selected. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, right, were controlled by the deep state. So, raised and trained from the beginning, Like I said, his mother was raped by Hitler. I don't know if it was rape, but anyways, raised and trained and embodied by America's most covered institutions, not to serve the nation, but to hijack it. So, oh, and by the way, Hitler did live to be an old age in Argentina. So, yes, he did have children up until the 1950s and early 60s. So, yes, Obama was his child. Okay. Just wanted to point that out. For those of you guys that bought the narrative that Hitler blew himself up in the bunker in Germany, it was all false. He migrated over to Argentina and he lived there for a very until he I think up until his 90s, I believe. Anyways, let's continue. The breadcrumbs are there from his mysterious early life to the sealed records, the foreign influences, the three-letter agency that starts with the C, connected handlers, the meteoric rise from obscurity to power. Nothing about Obama's story is organic. It was never organic. All right. Even his fake win of the Nobel Peace Prize. Come on. I thought that was when I heard he won the Nobel Peace Prize, I almost about barfed. Everything points to design, guys, and destiny. Okay. Former intelligence officials have long hinted at it. Obama's roots run through the Langsley, right? Not Chicago. Groomed in Indonesia, shaped by Marxist mentors, all right? Tied to radicals like Bill Agers, then catapulted by media into the spotlight with a messianic narrative crafted by spin doctors and propagandists, right? And once in power, of course, he didn't even transform America. He began systematically dismantling it. And this reminds me of a article, I believe it was written by Lyndon LaRoche. He wrote a series of executive intelligence reviews, and one of them had a front cover of Obama with Hitler's mustache. And this was back in 2009, 2010. And I remember looking at that executive intelligence review, and I tell you this, guys. Lyndon LaRoche, who published the executive intelligence review, was on this from day one since 2008. He was publishing the executive intelligence review that was revealing the truth about Obama and his betrayal against the American Republic. All right, let me continue here. So, you know, since the beginning, he was groomed to systematically dismantle America, weaponizing the intelligence agencies against political enemies, right? Seeding division along race, class, and ideology, undermining law enforcement, expanding the surveillance state, weakening America's borders while strengthening globalist control. And he was not a leader at all. Okay, he was a virus, a joke to be exact. And the American people immune system is finally responding. Okay, with the floodgates open now, thanks to Doge. And the evidence mounting, the patriots in uniform are no longer silent. From the highest ranks of military intelligence to civilian led investigations, the drums of justice are beating louder than ever. Military tribunals is no longer a theory, they are the logical outcome when civilian courts are compromised and treason has infested the highest level of power. And now, as Trump pushes forward with public momentum and spiritual awakening surging behind him, the targets are locked. Obama, the witch Hillary, and Billy Bob, Brennan, Rice, Condoleezza Rice was also a big player for the deep state. Holder, Milley, Soros, which were all the architects of sabotage. Okay, they were all working together. This is before the era of Trump, before 2016. Both the Republicans and the Democrats were working for the same team in cahoots. All right, so the evidence is there. The confessions are surfacing. The timeline is now complete, right? And the American people are ready to know the truth. And we want these trials to be publicized, all right? We don't want this to be taking place from behind the scenes. And they know that. So they want answers, right? That is the American people. And of course, we also want justice. So the days of hiding behind foundations, legacy media, and Hollywood distractions are over. The storm has arrived, okay? And the deep state has nowhere left to run. So we're going to be seeing now, as a result of what Trump unraveled regarding Obama, right? Many people thought he was the Antichrist. I would say, he was playing a key role in terms of installing the system of the Antichrist. But no, the Antichrist is artificial intelligence. But yeah, Obama, we could say he was an Antichrist figure. All right, he was a dark soul. Okay, the son of Adolf Hitler. Anyways, so the end of the Shadow Empire is here, guys. This is not politics. This was a covert war. Okay. And in this war, we finally see the battlefield for what it truly is, a fight between light and darkness, a fight between freedom and what? And fascism, sovereignty and slavery, truth and deception. Obama was never just a former president. He was the globalist installed saboteur in chief. Okay. A Trojan horse armed with charisma, protected by the media. And I remember all the celebrities in Hollywood loved him. Oh, the first African descent president. And he's so eloquent, and he speaks very fluently. I do remember what people used to say about him, but I kind of also felt that he was not what everybody thought. And of course, he was backed by intelligence agencies who thought that they were untouchable. Okay. But they miscalculated one thing. They miscalculated one thing. Well, Trump doesn't back down now, and neither. What is it? Sorry? No, no, no. What's going on? Just tell me, because if I. Am I off? Hold on. Do we have a troll? Is that what it is? We have a troll? If we have a troll, just ignore it, guys. I have no control over the troll. Hold on one second. Let's see. Yeah, there's no troll here. I don't see no troll. Let's see. Oh, okay. Margarita Duricher? Anyways, all right. I'm just going to continue here. Anyways, so, as the world awakens and the mask falls, I mean, let trolls be trolls. Again, most of them are robots, anyways. So, as the world awakens and the mask falls, we hold the line with President Trump at the helm, and the millions of patriots armed with truth, courage, and the unshakable will take back the republic. And so all roads lead to Obama now, right? And now these roads lead to justice. So while the deep state spins, stalls, and signs death contracts with arm manufacturers, President Donald J. Trump picked up the phone and spoke for 2 hours with President Vladimir Putin and did what the Brandon regime, the UA and NATO, and every warmonger in DC failed to do for years. He opened the door to peace. Okay, so before I get into this, I do want to apparently there is a troll in the chat. Let me get my glasses so I could see. I guess I left them in the car. Hold on. I will continue with my report, guys. Again, I don't have a moderator, so let me go ahead and 1 second. All right, guys. So apparently, it was brought to my attention that there was some lady saying stuff that wasn't true, because I do have other copycats or Ismael Perez's fake accounts that are, again, let me just make this clear. I never personally DM people on social media or anything. So if an Ishmael Perez, I have a lot of fake accounts that are trying to be me, robots perhaps, are messaging you, trying to do a reading. I don't do readings, all right? I don't do readings. So apparently somebody bought it and they fell for it and they gave them $2,500, but that wasn't me, all right? I don't do personal readings. I just teach my online courses. That's it. So apparently there are other copycats that are posing to be me that are trying to scam my viewers. So don't fall for the copycats. All right. I only teach online courses through my website. I don't do that's why I don't even respond on social media. All the messages, all the DMs are just piling there. I don't respond to nobody. I just go on social media when I need to put a message or a post. I don't DM nobody. Those are imposter Ishmael Perez's with using my pictures, using my name, trying to get money out of my viewers. So don't fall for that. Okay. This is the real Ishmael Perez right here. All right. Well, let me continue here. Let me continue. Okay. So let's talk about the peace. So apparently, Trump and Putin had a 2-hour conversation, I believe it was yesterday, regarding uh, ending the globalist agenda. And then, of course, bringing peace to Europe, which again, I've been saying this for months. This is going to win President T the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. So I'm still in the middle of the report. If you guys could just bear with me here. So, okay, here I was. Okay, so Trump picked up the phone, spoke for 2 hours with Vladimir Putin, and did what the Biden regime couldn't do, what the EU, the NATO, and the warmongers in DC failed to do for years. He opened the doors to peace. Okay. So after the call, Trump publicly announced that Russia and Ukraine will begin immediate negotiations toward a ceasefire. And more importantly, a permanent end to the war. I knew it. I've been predicting this for months. Told you guys. And just like that, the entire globalist narrative begins to crumble. The phone call between Trump and Putin wasn't just symbolic, it was actually diplomatic in general. Okay. It was strategy, it was leadership by two guys that are working within the alliance. Okay. And a raw geopolitical dominance, Trump style. Okay. So his words were clear, presidential, and loaded with action. Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations toward a ceasefire and, more importantly, end the war. Okay. The tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent. If it wasn't, I would say so rather than later. So, this is the language of power, not posturing. Trump didn't beg, he brokered. He didn't even escalate, he ended the game. Putin never respected NATO. Let's just be real. He laughed at the European Union. He ignored the United Nations. But Trump, he listens, okay? Because Trump doesn't come with threats. He comes with leverage, strategy, and unmatched boldness. Trump offered an economic vision that resonates with power players. Russia wants to do large scale trade with the United States when this catastrophic bloodbath is over. There is a tremendous opportunity for Russia to create massive amounts of jobs and wealth. Its potential is unlimited. This wasn't about borrowing or bowing to Moscow. This wasn't about bowing to Putin, okay? It was about staring down the war industry and offering the world a deal instead of another death count. Immediately after speaking with Putin, Trump called Zelensky. He also called Ursula von der Leyen, who's at the head of the EU. He called Macron, head of France, Meloni, head of Italy, Merz, head of Germany. And by the way, he called all the globalists, right? And of course, he also called Stubb, okay, the head of Finland. And yes, even the Vatican, which offered to host negotiations, okay? And that's not diplomacy, that's dominance. A president who moves faster than bureaucrats can even blink and gets results. That's Mr. T for you guys, okay? Zelensky, once the darling of Western propaganda, is now faced with the only serious path forward and the war that he end the war or be exposed. Okay, so Trump gave Zelensky he gave him a last notice. You either end the war or be exposed as a puppet, clinging to a paycheck. All right, so apparently they are going to cease fire. All right, Trump is bringing an end to that war as I speak. So while Brandon preached forever support, Trump speaks results and he sees opportunity where others see war. Okay. Ukraine can be a great beneficiary on trade in the process of rebuilding its country. War is over, rebuilding begins. Okay. With America, with deals with Trump. No more blank checks, no more weapons flowing into a proxy bloodbath, only contracts, commerce, and a new era of cooperation built through strength. They had years, billions in weapons, thousands of dead soldiers. I mean, this war has been going on for what, 4 years now? And a lot of that has to do with the what? Obama and the Brandon administration. And what did they achieve? Really nothing, just a bunch of bloodshed. Okay. However, on the flip side of that, we do know that all of those BIO labs that were financed by Obama, not financed, but again, he did pass a law taking more money from our taxpayers into those biolabs that eventually Putin had to take out. Okay. Eventually Putin had to take out. So Biden's regime used Ukraine as a pawn. Okay. The European Union used it as a money laundering haven. NATO used it as an excuse for endless military expansion. Okay. And now Trump ended the game with a phone call because he's not owned by the system and he never was. That's why they, went against him even when he was running in 2016. He controls the system. Okay. Peace through power. Trump's legacy is global stability. Let the world see the difference. Brandon always equaled war, collapse, inflation, and lies and deception. Trump always equaled stability, growth, peace, and real leadership. So, this is what a commander in chief looks like, not a mumbling puppet on a teleprompter, not a shadow president hiding behind handlers. Donald J. Trump just ended a war, okay? A war that could have ignited the Third World War and began a new era after that 2-hour call with Vladimir Putin. Let history record this day. Okay, this is the ninth. I guess that took place this morning. Yeah, the 19th of May. Yeah, we're still in the 19th of May. Wow, that took place this morning. 2025, the day peace returned and the world remembered what leadership feels like. President Donald Trump just blew the lid off of one of the most vile, coordinated, and criminal treasonous schemes to ever infect the American election. And no, this wasn't just some minor campaign violation. This was a full-scale, deep state-backed money laundering operation involving, are you guys ready for this? Camel Toe Harry, you know who that is, right? She ran for the Democratic presidency 2024 and lost to Trump. She was supported by Hollywood elites and the corrupt media machine, all designed to buy public influence, rig emotional optics, and stimulate a movement that never existed. So let's stop pretending that Camel Toe Harry, right, the presidential runner for the Democrats in 2024, was never a real candidate, right? She was a project, right? A laughing hyena, as I called her, a puppet propped up by the same elite cartel that run Hollywood, big tech, and the corrupt arms of government. The same cartel that's been trying to erase Trump since the moment he descended that golden escalator in 2015. And now we have the receipts, thanks to Doge. I think this Elon 2.0, the third Elon, did very well in uncovering all of this information for Trump. So, in a bold, direct message to the American people, Trump has called for an official federal investigation into Harry funneling of millions, camel toe Harry, millions to so-called entertainers like, are you guys ready for this? We just talked about this like 2 lives ago. Bruce Springsteen, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, and Bono. Bono, I used to like you. I used to like his band. Anyways, I didn't realize that Bono was financing Camel Toe Harry under the fraudulent label of performance fees. All right. But these weren't concerts, these were coordinated psychological operations, stage events to make a deeply unpopular, empty candidate appear as if she had national support. The Trump administration has allegedly warned Israel that U.S. support may be pulled if Netanyahu does not move to resolve the conflict in Gaza. So, the next thing that Trump has on his agenda, now that he is bringing the end to the Ukrainian Russian war, is that he is now putting the fire under Netanyahu to stop the conflict in Gaza. And I believe that after he accomplishes that, that's when he's going to be awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for bringing peace to planet Earth. Okay. I've been saying this for months, guys. For those that have been following me for months, I told you guys that not only is Trump going to win the second election, or in 2024, a few months ago, I told you guys he was going to win. But not only was he going to win, but he was also going to bring peace to the world. Okay. And as a result of that, he will be awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. Mark my words, guys. The Supreme Court has ruled that the Trump administration is allowed to revoke temporary protected status from Venezuelan illegal immigrants. Okay. Democrats, excuse me, are demanding President Trump's DOJ to drop all investigation into the Brandon family using his cancer diagnosis as justification. Dr. Sek Emanuel claims that Brandon likely had cancer during his time in office, and they actually hid that the original Brandon was, he croaked, and that they replaced him immediately, possibly even from the beginning of his presidency. And of course, we all know that, right? They're like on the seventh or sixth clone, which is very malfunctioning, but still has prostate cancer. Ed Martin, the DOJ's newly appointed pardon attorney, has announced that the launch of an investigation into President Brandon's pardons. All right, you guys are going to like this. Pam Bondi, and she wasn't compromised, by the way. She wasn't compromised. Okay. Pam Bondi is pushing to give federal prosecutors the power to indict members of Congress without meeting approval from the DOJ's public integrity section. And then, of course, former President Brandon, as you guys know, has stage 4 prostate cancer. Well, the actor, or the sixth clone, whatever he is now, that thing, let's just call him that thing. Okay, so Dan Borgino claims that he's examined the full Epstein file and maintains that Epstein committed suicide. The FBI Director Kash Patel promises that the newly uncovered Russian Gate documents will be released in full with no bombshell information withheld. Can you close the door? This one? Okay. The FBI has reportedly discovered previously undisclosed material linked to the Russian coalition investigation, with a public release anticipated soon. Hillary Clinton states that too much free speech on social media has led many people to believe that she's imprisoned children in a pizzeria basement. She dismisses the story as total fiction and expresses frustration that people are still talking about it years later. Clinton pieces the blame squarely on social media platforms, accusing them of standing by while people continue to discuss it. Okay. What would you say to the witch? Okay. After this. So after the okay, really quick, guys. A lot of people ask me, what is a black swan event? Well, it is this when everything crashes, the stock market, the banks, it is a complete meltdown of the entire system, collapse, right? That is what a black swan event is. So when the lights go out and Starlink and SpaceX turn the power back of nuclear energy and into quantum energy, that will be a blackout. I guess that will be a following what we call the black swan event. Some people were asking me what that is. And let's see. Um, let's talk a little bit about Brandon, okay?
Box, so
we'll just let the mascara run.
It's just gonna get messy. It's gonna get so messy. Okay.
And that's what happens. It's wonderful if emotions come through because you've hit something if that happens. Yeah. But it doesn't always, and it doesn't mean it didn't work or it's not happening if you don't get emotions. It's okay. What you want is the aha, and you know when that happens. So, but there's a process. There's an understanding about this. These things are happening because of situations going on in the life. They don't just happen because the body feels like it.
Right.
The body's old and it's worn out and things like that. All the things that we like to be told. People want us to believe.
I do have a question here. Is where this particular the backache just kind of like I woke up and I'm like, and then it just kind of kept getting tighter and tighter. But what is there any difference between like if I walked outside and twisted my ankle? Is that kind of fall in the same? Okay, you twisted your ankle, so and then there's
then it'd be like, okay, what was going on? See, but the process we go through. Here's the things that really help start creating the capsule that you're going to work in of understanding. Okay, and one is the description of whatever it is. The next one is what was going on. It's like, when did that happen? So if you're saying we walked outside and twisted it, like it just happened. Okay. So it just happened. Now, then you say, okay, what was going on at that time? So no matter if it was 2 minutes ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, what was going on at that time. You're identifying events that were going on in your life. Now that's going to tell you volumes right there, because that's when the two go together. And that at that point, that was trying to say something about whatever was happening. And it was trying to deliver the message. And if you didn't get it, then it's doing it through the body. And it's just constantly trying to tell you.
My dogs are trying to tell us all something in the background. So if you hear that, I do apologize.
Well, and that's one of the ways we get messages is from animals. So,
that wasn't me going, ooh.
So let's do the back. Just as first, let's do the back. Some things that are just some, the messages that they might be delivering. Because these parts, I love how this works because it's so literal. It takes that body part, body system, body organ, whatever, and you look at what it does, and then that will tell you metaphysically what it is trying to convey. So that's a guideline. And then from there, the person's description of whatever's going on will finish that out. Okay, the description and then the when that happened and see all that stuff. That's how it finishes it out. So let's do some descriptions of back pain. Like where in the back?
Okay. Lower back.
Lower back. Okay. And then what does it feel like? Just describe it.
How does someone describe back pain? I can't bend over to tie my shoes. It creates it's sharp pain.
A sharp pain.
If I'm sitting here like this, I'm fine. If I'm watching TV, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. If I go to stand up and move, it's a little stiff. If I actually were to have to pick something up off of the ground, you might hear me whimper.
Okay. So under kind of more exertion.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like, okay. And then when did it start?
That started about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Okay. What was going on in your life at that time?
Okay. So see, now I've done some of this, you guys. So I am familiar. Making some changes at home. So for those of you who aren't real familiar with me, I am a single mom of 3 boys. And sometimes chores don't get done. Sometimes garbage doesn't get brought to the curb. And I think just before this happened, it was just a day or two before this happened. I ended up getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning because it dawned on me nobody brought the garbage out, and I'm scooting the garbage out to the curb at 1 o'clock in the morning, trying not to make noise to wake up the neighbors, which means I'm packing that thing. And I was very disgruntled because the child that was supposed to do that did not. So that's one of the things that would play into it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, another thing about the low back is, your back is representing, what does the back represent to you? What does the spine mean to you?
That's what holds us up. It's supporting us.
Right. It is a support system. Your skeleton is there, but the spine is what keeps you upright and keeps you in alignment. Ooh, that just came in.
Oh no, I'm aware. I'm out of alignment.
And so, and then the parts of the back can represent even more. Like, when it's across the top of the back and the shoulders and everything, that's kind of like where we carry things.
Yeah.
So that's representing, feel like you're carrying a heavy load. And if it travels down the back, it can hit different parts, and that's representing different parts of the structure and the load, things like that. Now, when it's in the low back, that's representing, which is really interesting here, is the support, because that supports all the rest of it. It's all support, but that's like the base of the support. So it's saying at the base of the matter,